Hello, everybody, and welcome to the Concord Administration Training. This session is going to be about 45 minutes to an hour, and a couple of the things that we're going to go over today is just navigating Concord, understanding the product, your personal settings and your company settings. We'll talk a bit about the advanced features, what goes into creating a template. At the end of the session, we'll have ample time for Q&A. So if you have any questions, I'd be more than happy to answer those towards the end. And I'll also point you in the direction of some support and resources so you can further your learning on the product. My name is Shannon DeLang. I am the Customer Education Manager here at Concord. Really excited to be working with all of you today. And just a couple of things about making sure you get the best visual experience. Make sure you're located close to your Wi-Fi. If you have the capabilities to hardwire in, not a bad idea to do so. Or if you have any questions about the Zoom performance, you can always just check out their support site, take a look at what their requirements are. And I do also just want to give you a heads up here that the environment that I'm going to be using is my company demo environment. So what you see on my screen may be just a little bit different than what you will see on your screen. You may notice some differences there. All right, let's go ahead and get started.
Thank you, Shannon, for that great introduction. Hi, my name is Kendra. I'm an onboarding manager here with Concord. I first want to say that this is a demo environment that you are going to be viewing today throughout Robert and I's training. So if you do see something that is a little bit different, that might be due to your roles or permissions. Quickly going to go over your home page here before I pass it over to Robert to hop into your administration settings. Here on your homepage at the top, you do have your global search bar that searches through any text, title, tags in an agreement, third parties, etc. Right below, you have any tasks that are waiting for you, documents to sign, approve, etc. And down below that, you have any documents that you have access to that have been recently modified. On the right-hand side, you have documents that are available to you in each status. You have your templates, draft, review, signing, and signed, and you can go right into documents at any status from here. And on the left-hand side, you have your quick access menu to bringing documents into Concord or accessing those advanced features that we're going to talk about a little bit later in today's session. All right, take it away, Robert.
Thanks, Kendra. This is Robert Argiro, Senior Onboarding Manager here at Concord. Let's jump on in. Let's walk through the settings. To get to your settings, navigate to the bottom left-hand corner, click on the gear icon, and go to Settings. There are two types of settings, personal and company. Personal settings is pertinent for your specific login. Company settings affect the account as a whole. So every single licensed user will have personal settings. Only the admins will see both personal and company settings. Under personal settings, my details is your information. Name, job title, phone number. Company shows which organizations you're a part of, which will be the organization that you signed up with in Concord. Custom messages is a way to templatize your outbound emails when you share agreements with counterparties. So for example, you may want to create one for when you share a particular type of agreement, like NDAs. And best practice, I'd recommend personalizing the message a bit. So you could say, hi, and this will give them instructions as well. So when the counterparty gets your email, they'll know what to do. So hi, please click the link in this email, review and sign when ready. If you have any questions, please feel free to post in the discussion panel on the right-hand side of the screen. Preferences is going to be how you manage your email notifications. So do I want to receive weekly deadline reminders by email? And within how many days prior to the deadline? So when you set lifecycle dates in Concord, you'll receive, and you have this checkbox selected, every Sunday evening you'll receive an email with all of your upcoming deadlines within X amount of days, whatever you specify here. And down below are the email notifications that you can control for actively negotiated agreements. You may either select individual email or recent activity digest. Individual email means you'll be notified immediately. Recent activity digest means that you'll receive one email a day with a summary of all of the actions that have occurred. and you can control it from colleagues as well as external guests. So if you feel like you're getting too few or too many, this is where you control that. Moving to the company settings. Once again, this affects the account as a whole. So you'll want to go through each of the preferences and decide whether you want to toggle them on or off. Some examples include forcing people to use tags, forcing folks to change password every 6 months, and things of that nature. This one here is one that most commonly folks have turned on, which is administrator access. What this means is admins can see everything in the platform, whether or not it's been shared with them. That way you have eyes on every agreement. Now, this is how you manage your users, teams. Roles means what feature sets folks have access to. Folders is how you're going to control which individuals and teams have access to which documents based upon folders. And tags is a way to quickly filter, sort, and report within the platform. I'm going to go into each of these in a bit more detail, but first what I want to show you is the folders and how they work. So best practice is to create folders by department. For example, finance would have access to finance, HR would have access to HR, the IT team would have access to IT, so on and so forth. Typically, the legal team is overarching and has access to most all folders. You may also create subfolders if there's documents that pertain specifically to a particular department, like taxes for finance or offer letters to HR, policy and procedures, whatever the case may be. If you have access to the top level folder or parent folder, you will also have access to the subfolders. You may also just grant access specifically to subfolders to teams or individuals. So, users is where you're going to manage your users and invite users to the platform. When you invite users to the platform, you'll want to create teams and assign them to the team or teams that they should be on, which then impacts which folders they have access to when you create the folders, using this up in the top right-hand corner. So for example, I have my finance folder. If I want to create a folder, I go to the top right, and I could say finance and create. If I want to create a subfolder, I would just create the subfolder and say I want to place this inside a particular folder and create. Over here, you'll see who the folder has been shared with. So when we create the finance folder, you can then click share and select what team or teams or even individuals you want to share the folder with. And so here is you'll see finance. Yes, both the finance and legal team have access. HR and legal have access to HR, so on and so forth as we go down through the list. So when you invite users to the platform, to streamline the process, we assign them a team, so that way ultimately they will automatically be put onto the team and have access to the folder. So if I invite Ashley to the account and I want her to be on the finance team, that way when she joins, it'll automatically put her into the finance team bucket and she'll have access to the finance folder. You may also at any time hover over a folder and click edit if you want to rename the folder. And everything in the account settings works pretty similarly. Create a folder is in the top right-hand corner. I'll come back to roles. Teams, to create a team, is up in the top right-hand folder. Also to add users is in the top right-hand corner. Okay. So tags are a way to quickly filter, sort, and report and get a list of agreements based upon a tag, a label, certain criteria. So the most commonly used tags are contract value range, and this is going to differ from organization to organization and even department to department, industry to industry, but these are some most commonly used throughout. Contract value range, department, even though we have departmental folders, best practice is to have a tag for it as well. Document type, geographic region, non-standard terms. So for example, if so non-standard clauses or terms. So for example, if you never have auto-renewable contracts, this might be something that you want to use as a tag. So you can say, let me see all of my agreements that I've negotiated that have auto-renewable clauses in them. So that way you can identify and filter and get a list of them quickly. And this is going to range, once again, from organization to organization, but auto-renewal, indemnity, licensing, force majeure, service level agreements. And then lastly, product or service type. These are all in alphabetical order. As such, when I create a new tag, I will typically put a prefix in front of it. This way, it will group all of my similarly categorized tags together in an easily digestible format and means to select. Roles. This is who can do what feature-wise in the platform. These blue system roles are the out-of-the-box roles that cannot be modified or deleted. As such, we do give you the ability to add new roles where you can go through and toggle on or off very specific feature sets within the platform. Due to these not being able to be modified, every customer will use this creator administrator role for the admin team. Viewer role is also very, very common for folks. This allows users to log in and be able to view agreements but not be able to take any action on them. Collaborator, creator, and team manager are quite frequently not used because there will be a toggle or two that maybe you want to turn on or off that you aren't able to because these are set in stone. So due to that, we give you the ability to add new roles. The most common custom roles are standard users for all of your individual contributors, just cross-departmentally, if they're all going to have similar feature sets like marketing, finance, customer success, sales, product. All of my folks will have, all my individual contributors will have this very similar feature set. As such, I want to group them together as standard users. Management will probably have a little bit more access feature-wise than standard users. And another common one is signers. If folks are just going to sign, you could toggle on the sign button. So I'm going to open this up so you can see what it looks like and how to change them. One thing that I'll mention is you just name the title of what you want to call the role here. This description area is a great way to summarize what you toggle on or off within the feature sets. And so when you summarize it, I would suggest they have the ability to do X, they do not have the ability to do Y. Reason being, when you look at roles from the roles page, you can easily identify what folks can or cannot do without having to click in and determine and go through the list, essentially. So when you create a role, go through and make sure that you toggle on or off what you'd like them to do or not do. Anything that has create or edit or delete, I would pay close attention to. For example, you probably don't want too many folks creating and editing templates or deleting templates. You probably don't want folks to be creating and editing tags and deleting tags as well. So one thing that I want to make sure I note is chances are all the hard work you do up front in creating tags, we don't want folks to create, edit, or delete tags. We just want them to use the tags that you've created. As such, I would turn these off, and I would very highly recommend turning this on for everybody. List all tags enables folks to be able to see all of the tags in the platform so they can effectively select the corresponding tags that they want to associate to a particular document. The final aspect I want to touch on here is bulk upload. All you need to do to import documents in bulk is zip them and import that zip file in. So since our folders are set up by department, what we would want to do is zip, for example, all of our finance-related documents, title it finance.zip, click browse and locate the zip file that you did for finance.zip, and then say I want it to go into my finance folder. You may also add tags here if you want to tag every single document that's going to go to the finance folder. Most times what folks will do if they're importing it into finance is just use the finance department tag and start upload. And it will import, unzip all of the documents into the corresponding folder, and it'll title the agreement with the file name that is on your desktop. And that is it for the settings. Now let's walk through the documents page. So from the documents page, inbox is all of the agreements that you have access to regardless of folder. Shared folders are the folders that you have access to. So if you wanted to open the sales folder, for example, and see all the documents within the sales folder, you just click on the pertinent folder. Personal folder are all the agreements that you have access to that do not currently live in a particular folder. It could also be if, for example, you don't have access to the sales folder, but you were involved in a negotiation that went on with a sales agreement and they shared that specific agreement with you, it would reside in your personal folder. Stages here is a way to filter by stage. So these are the stages within the negotiation process. So a template is your paper, obviously. When you create or use a template, it will create a draft. When you share a contract, either internally or externally with folks, it'll flip to review. When you're actively signing the agreement, it'll flip to signing. Once it's fully executed, it becomes signed. So if I click on signed, I will see all my signed agreements. Canceled is, let's say you're negotiating an agreement, and let's say it's in the review stage, and for one reason or another, you're going to scrap the project, you're not going to negotiate and sign the agreement, you would cancel it out, and it would go to this canceled folder. That way, it won't show up in review as if you were actively working on it. So the canceled folder is primarily used for just, number one, removing things from your queue, and number two, being able to open the agreement and see what was negotiated, and maybe what was discussed on the discussion panel. If negotiations pick up 8, 9, 10 months down the line, you can use it as a reference point. The deleted folder is very similar to the recycle bin on your computer. When you delete agreements, they go to the deleted folder, and then from there you can go ahead and delete them out. So for example, if I want to delete, let's just take this, I could select what I want, click delete, and it will be move from there and put into the deleted folder. From here, you can select all and delete them or cancel the deletion. If you delete them, they're gone for good. All right, go back to the inbox. So this filters area up here, there's a few additional ways to filter and sort and get a list of agreements. You may filter by stage. This is all my signed agreements. You may also filter by tag. If I want to see all my signed NDAs, regardless of folder, because I'm in my inbox here, I will pull a list of all my signed NDAs within the platform. The filter by text here is a way to filter by the title of the agreement, the third-party name, as well as the description, which is under the summary tab within an agreement, if you put information in there. So for example, if I wanted to filter and find all of my signed NDAs with Dell, I could type Dell and it will find it because Dell is in the title as well as the with the third-party name. You can click the X to remove or the plus to add additional layers. This search bar with the magnifying glass, which is here, is a way to do a full text search. So it searches through the title of the agreement, the counterparty name, as well as the full text of the agreement. So if I type confidentiality, for instance, it'll find it if it's in the title, as well as where it's located within the agreement itself. After which you could filter by stage, tag, or third party if you'd wish as well. And by subsidiary if you have subsidiary management. Back takes you back to the documents page. And from here, if you want to go back to the home screen, as always, just click the Concord logo in the top left corner.
Thank you so much, Robert. Next, we're going to talk about the advanced features that Concord has to offer, specifically on the left-hand side of your home screen. Now, Robert talked quite a bit about the document inbox and the fundamental aspects of your document inbox. A couple things that we'll cover really quickly is simply pulling a report from a search you've filtered down by in your document inbox. Let's say, for example, similar to Robert's search, we wanted to just search all our document tags with NDA. This will pull up all of my documents that fit that description. Additionally, maybe I want to only search by documents that are in review status. From here, I can take my option to highlight all documents that fit that criteria, and I can take my actions to export this list or download the documents. If I was going to export this list, I have the options for a simple report in an Excel or CSV file, or an advanced report which does include more global information and lifecycle and custom field information. Back to the home page, the next section we're going to talk about is your deadlines section. This is going to be where you can view all of your deadline reports, and you can kind of filter similarly to how we filtered in your document inbox. We can drop down your options for upcoming deadlines, past deadlines, unknown duration on when the deadline is, the deadline type of the lifecycle data that's entered in the summary section of an agreement, or the financial condition or clause section that's entered in the other fields section on the summary section of an agreement. And additionally, you can filter down by tags here as well. So maybe I want to see all of my upcoming deadlines for documents tagged NDA. Maybe I only want to see life cycle, which is going to be my duration information. And from here, I have quite a good list. I can export this list or filter down even further if I wanted to. If I wanted to export the list, we have the Excel and CSV options here. I'm going to skip around just a little bit here. The next section I'm going to hit is going to be reports. Now, reports is going to be all of your document reports. Anything you want to come back and review at any given time, you can create a report for. You do that in the top right-hand corner of this page. And here, we're going to skip adding a report name and description for just a second. And I'm going to show you how you're going to create your report. So let's say we want to pull a report, and we'll stick to a similar uh, tagging that we've been doing today, and we'll look at our NDAs. So we'll pull out our filter by our NDAs. Maybe we also want to see our NDAs like we did just a minute ago in review status. And maybe it's important who created this. Maybe I only want to see documents created by me. And here we go, we have a nice good list here. Now that I've created kind of my search criteria, I'll give my report a name. I will go ahead and put NDAs in review by Kendra. Now, as we can see here, if we just hop out off of that name, we have the option to export the report or delete the report. But even better than that, we can come view this report at any given time. If I go back to my main report page, we can go ahead and find that report. It's going to be at the very bottom. We'll click into it, and you can see the matching criteria. Now, in 3 weeks, there may only be 3 documents that fit this criteria, or there may be 20 documents that fit this criteria, but it will always pull anything that's currently matching the filters you select for this particular report. Next section we're going to talk about is going to be your analytics section, right under reports. This is going to be your visual representation of your document and deadline reports. You can filter down by a specific date range and additional tags. Again, I work a lot with NDAs, so let's go ahead and select an NDA here. You can turn on the toggle for your administration access if you want to view just your documents here, or toggle it on to view all documents in your account. And here you have your visual representation, different pages and tables of the documents that you have in different statuses, as well as how many have been signed and who's and what is ending. Next section we're going to talk about is your activity section. Your activity section is going to be your full account audit trail. As an admin, you can see everything that's happening on your account, when it's happened, and on what document it's happened on. So every document has its own audit trail, but you do have the ability here to come in and view your full account audit here. So we've gone over our documents inbox, our deadlines, our activity, our reports, and our analytics. The next piece of information we're going to cover is our workflows section. This is going to be where you can predefine approval workflows or approval processes. These are going to be predefined on the back end so that your users can come and grab them at any stage of the document process. So if they're bringing in a document, maybe a straight third-party paper, or you're creating a template, these document workflows or approval workflows can be grabbed once they've been created here on the back end. To create an approval workflow, we're going to select Add New Workflow. And you can always add the name and the description right away. I typically will get in the habit of breaking out all of my approval steps and then kind of describing that here. So let's say we're going to break down our approval steps and we're going to just hover over our little person here and assign our approval to someone or a team. When it comes to approval processes, it's really best practice to have teams created for approval needs that are going to be required, as if you have users coming in and out of your Concord account. Maybe someone from your legal team's on vacation, maybe your CEO's on vacation, maybe there's churn in the company, etc. You can simply add users on and off the correct team to keep approval processes in motion. So let's say, for example, this is going to be a legal team approval. And so we're going to click that we need approval from the legal team here. You'll see that step 1 is assigned to the legal team, and we can then determine if anyone on the legal team needs to sign or everyone from the legal team needs to sign. I'll leave it as anyone. The next approval step I'll grab here will just be something like our HR team. So let's say our HR team needs to approve after the legal team, and let's say here our HR team needs everyone from the HR team. Maybe there's only a couple people on there. So let's go ahead and name this approval workflow. This is going to be different and custom depending on what type of communication you use internally per your company, but I'm just going to call this standard legal and HR approval. In the description, I'm going to put use when a document requires an approval from one person on the legal team and all of HR. You could even put here what type of documents that means. Maybe that's going to be on all of my mutual NDAs. And I can go ahead and save this here. The reason why I put that description and all of that is right here in the description section. We can see our standard legal approval and when to use it and who it goes to. So now that that approval has been created on the back end, we'll talk about using that approval when we talk about bringing in documents into Concord. Similarly, we'll talk about creating a template here in a little bit, and we'll use that approval. Next section we're going to talk about is smart fields. Smart fields are going to be fields that you can predefine as an administrator, and smart fields can be created for a few different reasons. The first reason that you might want to create a smart field is if there's information in documents that you ask for frequently. So if you ask for contract value 5 times in an agreement, or a company name 3 times, or a vendor name 3 times, or the region 6 times, instead of relying on manual procedure to enter in and fill out each field, you can have those predefined as smart fields so that they'll map multiple times throughout a document. We'll talk about this a little bit more in our template section. But let's talk about the other reasons why you might need a smart field. The other reasons why you might need a smart field is for if then scenarios that require or trigger an approval workflow. So if contract value, for example, equals blank, then get approval from blank. So that's another reason why you might want to create a smart field. Smart fields you create by hitting that create field in the top right hand corner, and you simply create a field name. Do be careful creating smart fields, as smart fields cannot be deleted. You can update the field name at any time, but the field type, which you only have two options right now, text and number, will remain the same. So let's do something that I know I'm going to use. Let's do client name, and we'll make that a text field here, and we'll go ahead and save that. So I only have a few different smart fields here, and that's just because I've been cautionary on when I need them. As again, you only need smart fields for information that's asked for multiple times, or additionally, information that's going to require those if-then approval scenarios. So the last thing that we're going to talk about on the additional features section here in Concord, let's go back home, is just going to be your clause library. You can create a clause library to manage basically pre-approved company information or wording for different clauses that can be grabbed at any given time. So say you have a confidentiality clause, a non-disclosure clause, or a standard warranty. These are just my examples that have very specific wording that can be grabbed by any of your users. You can create as clauses as you need by creating a clause title, a description of when someone should use that clause, and the clause text. As you can see for, say, my confidentiality clause, we have our title, our description, and our text here. All right, and we'll just go back to our home page here. Next thing that we're going to talk about today is adding a template into your account. So to bring in a template, you're going to hover over your plus new document button. You can even hover over the new template area or arrow, and here we can see that we can bring templates in at different levels. We can bring in a blank template from a Word document, from a PDF, or we can automate with Excel, and this is for sending out with bulk agreements. If you have any questions about automating with Excel, do check out our support page. It's not something we're going to be talking about in today's session, but today what we'll do is we'll bring in from a Word document just so I can show you all the possible features that you can have here when you bring in a template. So you can just browse out to your computer and grab the document that makes the most sense for you. We'll just bring in an NDA for today's session. What we'll do here is give the title. When we're titling templates, we want to make sure that we use a standard naming convention. Best practice is going to be to use placeholders for information that you want your users to fill out later, like maybe the vendor name, if that's what you want in your agreement that gets sent out to your external guest. Then maybe we'll do something like NDA. And if I asked for anything with like the date, or I know this is for 2021, we could do something like that. Right below that, you'll notice that this document is in template status. You never need to name something template because you can always tell what status it's in, and you would never be editing the template to use it. You'll use it as a different agreement, basically a copy of what we create here today. Make sure that you check and see all the things that you can do under your file, revisions, signature, export, and attach. Today, we're mostly going to be talking about the standards of creating a template. Coming into the document, I'm just going to hover over to these areas of the document that I need to templatize information. So obviously, this is a specific date here, so I'm going to highlight over that. Wherever your cursor is or your highlight is where the fields are going to go that you select here. So you have different types of fields that we'll use a few different kinds today. You have your signature field, which is going to be if you wanted to map any signatures into the document itself. You have your short answer, which is going to be what we're going to use right here, something where you just enter a basic placeholder like effective date. One other thing that you might do for something like effective date is spell out how you want to receive that date. That's just totally up to you, but it would be as similar as adding a placeholder. You'll choose who fills out this field, someone from your company, an external guest, anyone. Anyone's going to be our default here. And if this needs to be filled out before signature, you got to go ahead and make sure that's required, and then we'll save. The other thing we can do here is maybe change this. We'll put a different name here specifically. Let's grab maybe a smart field. Smart fields are going to be information that map multiple times throughout the document. So company name is a great one that I know is in here multiple times. I'll go ahead and pull that to required, and we'll grab it here. Let's go ahead and just find a couple more spaces where we can grab our smart field for our company name so I can show you how that can map all the way through. Great. So here we've added in the information here for an effective date, a few different smart fields. Let's talk about those signature fields. If I wanted to make a signature area, I want to be clear here that I don't have to do this. Concord does have signature block at the bottom of the document, but if you want it to map into the agreement for visual purposes, we'll add our signature blocks here. Well, if we want two signatures, we'll add two of them, and we'll map who signs here. To do this, we actually have to start and configure our signers. How many signers do we want to have on this document, and what order should they go in? So let's say this document needs two signers. Maybe I need someone external and someone internal. What I can do from here is then map which one goes where. I can have my external guest go first and my internal guest go second as far as visual representation is concerned. But note, if you leave it like this, any external guest that gets on the used document and any internal person on the used document will be able to sign and at any time. There's no specific order. It just visually will show up in this order. If you want to add a specific order, you need to go to our advanced settings and turn on signing order. Here you can choose what order the document should be signed in and drag and drop accordingly. Let's say we want to make sure the external guest signs first and the internal guest signs second. Then we're all set here. The other thing that we can do, since we're on the template level, if we know that your NDAs that come through are always signed by a specific internal team or team member, you can assign that directly here. Maybe I want to go to internal signer A and pick a specific person. Maybe I know that I'm always the signer on this document. I can make sure that I get put here on the template level so that it's always set in stone that this type of document I am the signer for. So let's go ahead and leave that. And while we're here, now that we've added in our fields and configured our signature, we'll go ahead and turn on track changes. It looks like we're about ready to use this document. So we'll go to revisions up in the top and turn on track changes. I'm going to go ahead and just save all the work that we've done now. Now, in this document, we have our fields, and then we have our signature area, and we've mapped what needs to be done. The other information that we can set at the template level is information as to where this document should get located when it's used, any tags that should always remain true for this document, or any set lifecycle information that may always be true for this document. So let's say, for example, this document we want to go into our NDAs folder. Maybe we even want this to go into, maybe if we want this to go into, say, the marketing team's documents, we can go ahead and just add that straight to there. And now this is a marketing team template. So because we know this is a marketing team template, we can add a few different tags here at the template level. One tag we might want to add is that this is an NDA. So I'm going to go ahead and go off of my tagging system and tag the type of document. I also know that I just put this in the marketing folder for just my marketing team to use. So I'm going to go ahead and just tag that for my marketing department because it's always going to be true. Now, if you, for example, put this document in a open folder for multiple departments, you wouldn't want to tag this now, but that might be something you want to tag at the end. We'll go ahead and just save this information now. Other information you probably don't want to add at the template level is, for example, your third-party name, as that's often going to change, or most likely going to change if you're using templates. Some information you may want to preset here is lifecycle information. If you know this document always has specific termination information or renewal information, or maybe this contract never renews, you can predefine any of the information here on this template level. So maybe this type of document is always only good for 1 year and never renews. You could set that here, but if those terms are defined later, you definitely don't have to set that at the template level. You can also predefine other fields you want your users to capture here. Maybe you want an address to be captured here. You could do that, and whoever uses this template could fill this out. Other information you might want to set at the template level might be approval workflows. If you were setting up approval workflows, you'd come to your Workflows tab and go Set Approval Workflow. Here, you can grab any company workflows that your administrator has set for you, or you can come and customize a workflow specific for this template and add mandatory steps or conditional steps. Mandatory steps work just the same way as the company workflows do, where you get to pick a mandatory approval process to assign. Multiple teams or team members can be a part of that. However, if you wanted to set a conditional type workflow, this would be always predicated on smart fields. If smart field equals a certain value or does not equal a certain value, then get approval from a certain place. So for example, let's say contract value, if greater or equal than 100,000, get approval from my HR team. Well, if contract value is greater or equal than 500,000, then we need to get approval from our legal team. Maybe if it is greater or equal to 1 million, then we need to get approval from the CEO. We'll just say that's me. So you can set up these conditional workflows that are predicated only on smart field value. Now this approval will only come in place if this value is met. So we can save that if we want, although I know that would never become in place because we don't have contract value in this contract. But I just wanted to show you what that could potentially do. The other thing we could do is set a company workflow just to show you what that would look like today. Let's do something like maybe our standard legal approval, and we'll just hit save. Now that this template is ready for use, it is going to go in that folder, and I can share this template with anybody who I want to have access to this template, even if they don't have access to that folder I put them in. So maybe your marketing team already has access to this template because of their folder, but maybe you also want your procurement team to have access to this template so that they can fill things out for your marketing team. You can share this at the template level for them so that they can use this template and the saved document would still go in the folder in which you decided. Now we're going to switch to a live Q&A session. You can ask your questions in the chat or Q&A pod in the Zoom platform, or you can raise your hand and we can unmute you so that you can ask your question live.